Hi there, and welcome to Our Weekly Craft, a source for ideas, inspiration, and fun for crafters. I'm Sarah White, Chief Maker at OurDailyCraft.com, and today I want to talk about fall crafting priorities. It's the first day of fall here as I am filming this, so happy fall, we made it. Woohoo. It actually feels like fall in Arkansas today, which is lovely because it was like 95 degrees yesterday, and it's maybe not 95, but it was in the 90s yesterday, and it is not today, and we have all the windows open and it's lovely. I'm wearing my owl sweater. I did not knit this one. My daughter bought it for me like many years ago. The elbows are getting kind of like raw and sad, but it's adorable and I love it. It reminds me of the like Tootsie Roll, the really old Tootsie Roll commercials with the owl. So now you know how old I am, whatever. So with fall in the air, it sort of inspires me, and I'm sure a lot of crafters too, to get back into crafting. Maybe you weren't doing so much in the summer if you were busy, or like wool is hot and you don't want to knit or crochet with your warm yarns when the weather is also warm. So with cooler weather coming on, it gets you thinking about, well, like, what do I want to make this fall, this winter? And so I want to talk about like how to come up with your list of things that you want to make. To that end, I brought you this monstrosity, which I can't even properly show you, I don't think. It's all like twisted on itself and everything, but this is that Achu sweater that I've been working on for a while. And I told you last week, I keep dropping stitches is my problem. And I just did that again. So let me grab these. I told you last week that I had knit the top, re-knit the top because I didn't like the color that I had used. And I happened to discover in knitting the body that I had more than enough of this gray yarn to be able to do the whole sweater in the same color. And so I knit the top again, which is this part. It is like twisted on itself. Let me see. It's this part here. I just knocked a bunch off again, but it's okay. It's this part. You can see how it's just barely attached to this part. This is the bottom of the sweater. Because I had started grafting, I took the old top off and started grafting the new top to the old bottom. And then I got almost halfway through, and this has faux seams, which I'll show you in just a second when I finish picking these stitches up again. It has these faux seams on the sides of the body, so you know that was really helpful for me because I could see that I was supposed to be at the center of the top when I was at the center of the bottom, right? And I was about 10 stitches off. So I started ripping it out again so that I can add some stitches to the top and then do it again. And I have just, I don't know what happened here that I've got like weird strings, but you can see this little part right here. There's only a couple stitches left, but that I grafted it together, and it's going to be seamless and really cool and impressive that I was able to do it, right? But it's a little extra work because I didn't count my stitches on both pieces. I only counted my stitches on the top and knew that I had what the pattern said I was supposed to have, but clearly I was not what I had on the bottom. So I either knit a different size on the bottom or just somehow ended up with an extra set of increases, or I don't know what, but anyway. So that is definitely like priority one, and it's the thing that I'm trying to finish, and hopefully I'll get it back on track and done this weekend or soon after because I really want to wear it. It's like a great fall. It's a Henley, which is my favorite, and the color is nice for fall too, and I'm just ready to wear it because I've been working on it for a very long time, off and on. Most of the year, honestly. I mean, it was in time out for a long time because I had to mentally prepare myself for like, I'm gonna knit this part again, and like I remembered it being harder than it was, but it's just like you have to pay attention to it. It's not that it's difficult, it's just like there's German short rows and there's a part on the back that's patterned, and there's increases, like a lot of increases in different places, and you just have to pay attention to it. And it's So I had to like get over the mental leap of like, oh, I have to knit this again. It's like second sock syndrome, but for a sweater. And then once that was done, then I had to be like, okay, now I've got to rip out this, and now I got to start the crafting and make sure, it was messed up. And then, so it sat for a while, messed up. And then I finally started like while we were watching TV in the evenings this week, and doing the crafting that I had done. So it's almost done. And, yeah, so that's what I'm working on. But I am starting to think about other projects that I would like to be doing. And so I thought that it would be worthwhile to share with you sort of like my thought process when I'm trying to come up with like, what do I want to knit this season, or make, what do I want to sew this season, because I really want to make some pants this year. That is on my list. I'm mostly going to talk about this like from a knitting perspective because that's what's on my mind right now, but it's obviously interchangeable with crochet or sewing or whatever. I guess those are the main ones if you're making garments, but whatever, if you want to think about what projects you want to make are not necessarily seasonal, like what you want to cross stitch next, or what you want to, what kind of candles you want to make. I guess that could be seasonal, but whatever craft it is you do, if this is a time of transition where you might be thinking about what you want to do next. So the way I like to think about it is kind of 3 buckets of types of projects. So the first one is, what do you need? Like, is there a hole in your wardrobe that you want to fill? And need is super subjective with it. Like, I need another sweater. I need a pair of socks. I need, like, I obviously do not need a shawl. I do not need another hat. I do not need another scarf. So those are like obviously out for projects right now, even though there are tons of beautiful shawls that I would love to knit. I have so many, and I don't wear them, as much as I would like as it is. So I don't need to add to that. A new sweater I will wear, a new pair of socks I will wear. I actually have a sock that I knit on vacation, and I haven't done the second sock because I want to do a pattern and I need to take pictures as I'm doing it, and so I just haven't like sat down to do it's a toe up sock, so I need to start in front of a camera so that I can show the technique for doing the toe up part. And so again, it's just the mental thing of like, I need to do that. I really want to knit some like worsted weight socks too this year, which I've done before. I like boot socks, but I would just wear around the house. I don't care if they fit in shoes or not, but so that's kind of on my list as I don't know, again, need subjective, but I don't know if I need them, but like I need to sew a pair of pants, but it's something that I really want to have that I don't currently have. So what do you need, want? I guess that's one bucket, need or want, for yourself, or if you make for other people. Like maybe my daughter needs a new sweater this year. I don't think I made her anything last year, so the one that she has is like a rainbow striped cardigan, and it still fits her because she's kind of in a not hugely growing stage right now, but so I should probably ask her if she wants another sweater this year, because that would need to be on the list, and that would of course jump priority of anything that I want, because I have plenty of knit sweaters, and she's actually inherited a few of my knit sweaters, so maybe it's okay that she doesn't need a new one this year, because I can just be like, here, wear this one instead. So what do you want or need is a big consideration, and obviously like that list is going to be endless, right? But like if you think about in the next couple of months, what would I like to have going into winter? And maybe it is like, I really need a new hat. Like I got a new coat last year and I don't have anything that goes with it, or you just really like hats, and you're going to be outside more this winter, and so you need a new hat or a set of ear warmers, or but it could be something like that, something practical that that you need or would like to have for the season. Or it could be just, I've gotten into knitting sweaters lately and I want to knit a new sweater. Or one thing that is mine is I want to crochet a sweater, and I know that I've talked about that before, and I decided that the pattern that I was trying to use was nonsense. And I mean, I realized I did mess it up too because I was trying to work in the round and it was not made to be worked in the round. But even when I tried to work it flat, it didn't make sense. Like where the increases were, it's just like a raglan top down sweater, and where the increases were didn't make sense to me. It may be not a nonsensical pattern, but I don't know enough about crochet, I guess, to start with a worked in the round kind of a project. So I'm going to find something easier for myself. And again, that's maybe not a need, but it's like a hole in my wardrobe and something I want to learn. So that can be like another definition of want need is, what do I want to learn? What do I need to learn? What would be fun? Right? We're all about fun. So that maybe was 2 buckets. I said it was 1 because I was going to do what do you need? What do you want? So maybe it's, yeah, what do you need? What would you like to learn? Is there something new that you haven't tried? Whether it's a technique or a kind of project, like maybe you've never knit socks before, maybe you've never crocheted a hat, maybe you've never sewn a pair of pants, you know, so maybe there's something like that that you can add to your list, because, you know, continuing to grow and learn new things in our crafts is really important. And, you know, fall is back to school time, so it's like a good time to motivate yourself to learn something new. And then you get a nice new thing that you get to enjoy when you're hunkered down in your house when it's cold out. And then the third thing is, what have you always wanted to make? This gets to like your crafty bucket list kind of thing. And that could be, I mean, kind of, that sort of goes with the second one as well. Like it could be something that you've always wanted to learn about and you've never made it because you don't feel like you have those skills yet. But it could just be, you know, something you already know how to do, but it's like a particular pattern that you've always wanted to make, but you haven't yet, or, you know, or it is something like, I want to crochet a sweater, I want to knit a sweater, when it's the thing that you haven't done before. Or it could be, yeah, I want to learn how to knit socks. I want to learn how to sew in a zipper and make a dress with a zipper in the back. Or, you know, and again, this doesn't have to be garments. Maybe I want to work on my embroidery skills. So maybe I'm going to do one of those cool like stitch journals for the rest of the year, or even going back. I mean, it's hard to do a daily thing if you're not, you know, started at the beginning of the year, but maybe you just for practice do like, I'm going to stitch this month in October or whenever. Or, you know, doing your own sort of 100-day project for the rest of the year, doing a bit of embroidery practice every day, or hand sewing, or whatever it is. It's something that you've always wanted to do, always wanted to try, wanted to be better at, you know, that you can build your skills, because there's still like, okay, we're mid-September, but there's still like a lot of year left, right? 3.5 months almost. So, right? October, November, December, and there's September, yeah. 3 months and a week or whatever. It's not a half, but anyway, there's still time to like end the year with some satisfaction and having learned something new, having made something new, having tried something you never have done before, or knocking something off that crafty bucket list because you decided like, now's the time I'm actually gonna do that thing that I've always talked about wanting to do. Now, if you like go through and just like make a list, like, okay, I want to knit a sweater, I want to knit a pair of socks, I want to knit that, you know, I want to finish that sock that I've got, and I want to finish the sweater that I was working on, and I want to finish that blanket I was working on, and I want to, you know, crochet a sweater, and I want to, you know, you can see I'm laughing before I can even finish the sentence, because it adds up really fast, right? And it's easy to like make a list and be like, oh, sure, I can finish all of that. And this is going to be another discussion probably next week, but about holiday crafting for other people and why you shouldn't do it. Because in the abstract, you're like, oh, sure, I can knit, you know, a pair of socks in a couple of weeks, and I've got plenty of time to make socks for my whole family. You do not. And that is not how you want to spend your time. Spoiler alert, we'll get into that in greater depth sometime soon. But in any case, it's easy to, in the abstract, be like, yeah, I can knit a sweater in 2 weeks. You know, I can knit a pair of socks. They're, you know, worsted weight. That won't take any time. I can do a pair of socks in a week. I can crochet a sweater in a month, whatever, you know, and put like 10 things on your bucket list or your project list. It's not a bucket list, but it's just for this year. But and then only get like one of them done, right? Because you didn't correctly judge the amount of time that you would have to work on them. So a wish list is fine, but I feel like it's more motivating to have a smaller list, to be like, okay, so it's one pair of socks and this one sweater, and not like your entire queue that is on your mind of everything you always wanted to make, because then that's disappointing where you're like, oh, I wanted to make all this stuff and all I've got is this pair of socks. Well, the pair of socks is great, right? That's worth your time and it's great and it's worth celebrating that you got that thing done. But if you feel like the weight of all the stuff that you wanted to get done, that you expected to be able to get done, that isn't done, then that sort of spoils what does get done. So I am the queen of like, I can make all the things, right? One year I had a goal, I was going to knit a sweater a month, and that did not happen, obviously, because I have a job. I have 5 jobs. I have a child and a husband and all the things that are not knitting. But, you know, and then I maybe knit, you know, 2 sweaters that year, because then you get like, oh, well, I can't do it. Why should I bother to do any of it, right? So that's what we want to avoid. We want to, you know, have a list that's motivating and exciting, if a list motivates and excites you. If it doesn't, you know, and you're happy with just going through, you know, knitting your queue or the next project that catches your eye, and I'm like that a lot too, but I feel like with winter coming on, it makes me kind of go, wait, I want to actually like be conscious about what I'm creating. And that's really a weird thing to say, that I'm not always. Because how can you not, like, you choose what you're making? Nobody's telling you what to make unless you're paid for it, which I'm not right now. And so sometimes I like to have a plan. And again, going into winter, it's like, what do I want to be covered in? What do I want to be wearing when it's cold outside, when it's, you know, the middle of January and it's so dark and it's cold and it's, you know, we don't get a lot of snow usually, so snowy is not the thing, but it's just dark and cold and I don't want to leave the house, and I have to leave the house to go get my daughter from school or whatever. And what do I want to be wearing in that situation? You know, what do I want to have snuggled on the couch on Christmas Day? You know, and you can kind of think of those events like, is there something I want, you know, as my Thanksgiving centerpiece? Is there something, you know, do we need a new wreath for the door for Halloween? Yes, we do. Do we, you know, is there a new child in the family who needs a knit stocking? That's my mom's job, not mine, by the way. But yes, you know, maybe there's something like that, that it can be holiday related, which again, we'll get to in the sense of gift giving in another video. But so that's, again, this doesn't necessarily have to be clothing. It doesn't necessarily have to be the stuff that's for you, but it could be, you know, home decor. Maybe you want to make some new pillows for your couch because you are going to be on the couch a lot when it's cold outside, right? Maybe you want to make your cat a hat for Halloween. Maybe you need to knit your dog a sweater, right? There's lots of things that can come into this, and I think that that's a good way to think about it, is like, what do I want to have? Maybe that's even better for that need want question that we started with, is what do I want to have? How do I want to feel in the winter? Like, what would cheer me up on the darkest, coldest, snowiest, yuckiest, brown, gray, yuck day of the middle of winter, when it feels like winter's never going to end? Well, maybe a giant pair of socks would make me feel a little better, because at least my feet aren't cold, right? Maybe a new sweater that's like stripes of every color that's in the stash would make me feel better. Maybe a really nice, like, hand sewn weighted eye a sleep mask kind of thing would make you feel better. Maybe I'm gonna like make some bath salts or a really good scrub to use on my feet. When I come in and it's cold, I can soak my feet and do a scrub and give myself a pedicure, and that'll make me feel better. You know, there's like a whole range. It doesn't have to be garments, even though that's where my mind automatically goes. But you know, whatever it is that could lift your spirits, could lift someone else's spirits, can make you feel a little better about getting through. And I know some people like winter, no judgment, but I don't at all. So I'm cold all the time anyway, and so it's just worse when it's actually cold outside. So I need all the warmth that I can get from external sources. And so that's why I'm automatically thinking like blankets and candles and pillows and all the things. So I hope that that rambling weirdness maybe inspired you to think about what you're going to be crafting for the next little bit. And if you have a list already, I'd love to hear it, because clearly my list is way too long, because the more I talk about it, the more I'm thinking. I think it's going to be finish that sock. It's going to be finish this sweater. I'm literally pointing because I can see the sock. I should have brought it to show you, but I can't reach it from here. You know, it's a different another sweater, and it may be a rainbow striped sweater. I'm not sure, and it might be worsted weight socks, and finishing that garter stitch blanket I was working on, and you know, maybe it is making a foot scrub and a wreath for the door for Halloween and some other spooky stuff, because spooky season's my daughter's favorite, and we don't like decorate like it's her favorite, so we need to work on that this year and make it a little better. You know, I have a voting related sewing project that I've been working on that I haven't been working on for months, that I need to finish before November. I'd like to sew some pants. I'd like to knit another pair of pants, but that's not on my list. I'm not sure if it's going to make it, because I know now how long knitting a pair of pants takes. And even though the ones I've made were sock weight and the ones I'm planning are worsted weight, it'll still take a long time. Like, legs are long, and there are 2 of them. There's no getting around that. So, but that's sort of a bucket list thing, that I want to knit a pair of wool worsted weight. I mean, it doesn't have to be wool necessarily, but leggings that are, you know, it would be nice if they were wool, but I don't know, out of stash, so they might be various different materials. But doesn't that sound nice? Like, on a really cold day, to just wear knit leggings underneath your pants, or with a dress. I don't have a nice wool dress, but if I did, you know, it's the dreaming is fun. So anyway, that's exactly my point. Like, my list never ends, and every time I think about it, I come up with more things. But if you have a list, I'd love to hear about it. Maybe your list is a little more subdued than mine, and that is probably more realistic. I don't really have. I finished A School for Good Mothers, and I don't know if I can recommend it, because I was reading it the whole time I was going, I don't know how this is going to end that can possibly be satisfying. And it ended, and I was right. I wasn't satisfied with the ending. I didn't like it. It's an interesting premise for a book, I guess, but I didn't like the execution or the ending. But I don't know what the right ending would have been, so I can't say what's wrong with it, but it wasn't satisfying to me. I'm currently reading The Personal Librarian, which is a sort of historical fiction about the personal librarian to J.P. Morgan, who was passing as a white woman. She's Black, and she, you know, was able to travel the world and do all this high-powered work for him, acquiring manuscripts and art and things for his personal library. And so it's about that, and also about passing, and, you know, how that works. Like, how her family came to decide that they were going to live as white people, and the pressure that that puts on a person, especially with her being in high society and like under scrutiny and exposed to the world. and how that worked. I'm about halfway through it. It's enjoyable. Again, not 100% sure where it's going or how it's going to end because I don't know the history. I don't know if she's going to be discovered, if it's going to matter, how that unfolds. Oh, I do have a good thing. I have started watching A League of Their Own on Prime, the series that they did that was based on the movie from the 90s about the All-American Girls baseball league that existed during World War II. I I liked the movie. I'm of that age that was like our feminist movie. So there weren't a lot of women focused movies back then. And so that was a good one. And I have watched, it's Thursday, so I guess I've watched 4 episodes, so almost about half the season. And I'm really enjoying it. I didn't have a lot of expectations for it, and it's more charming than I expected. It's really sweet, and I've been enjoying that. And it's a good antidote to all of the sci-fi fantasy stuff we've been watching, so I'm enjoying that. But yeah, I think that's all. I hope that you'll take some time this weekend or whenever you watch this to think about what you want to make next. Whether that's normally a thing that you do in advance or from project to project. Just to consider how being mindful about that is what it is. It's a different, we've talked about mindful crafting before and how like you need to stop and really pay attention to what you're doing. This is the same thing. It's another aspect of mindful crafting, of like having a plan and paying attention and asking yourself what you want, right? I don't know if other people have that problem, that they just kind of flip from project to project and don't necessarily take the time to consider, is this something I really want? Is this something I really need? Is this something I want to be working on right now? Or, just because I like a project doesn't mean I have to make it. That's sort of a revelation, right? There are so many patterns out there in the world, and you're never going to get to make everything that you want to. So if you can like take that step and be like, okay, yes, I love this shawl. It's beautiful. Everyone's making it. I don't think there's an example of that in the world right now, but there have been, trendy shawls, trendy sweaters. Maybe you are not actually a person who will wear a weekender. It's a great sweater though. You should try it if you do like that kind of sort of boxy, easy sweater. I love mine. But that's an example of like something that's trendy. But if you can take that moment and be like, I would never actually wear that, then it's not worth the time spent to make it just because everybody else is making it. And again, maybe that's not a trap that you fall into. I have been known to fall subject to that from time to time. But really, life is too short to make things that you're not going to use or that you don't love and that you don't enjoy the process of making. So I hope that you are not like that and you can take the time. And maybe you don't even need to take the time because you've never made things that you don't like or that you don't want to make, and you don't get sucked in by trends. And congratulations if that's the fact for you. But if you are someone that that's a problem for, I hope that you will take this time to like really consider what you want to make and what you need and what your heart needs, right? How you want to feel in the winter and what could help you achieve that feeling in your home, on your body, in your spirit. And again, that's maybe you want to have like a really easy project for those dead of winter days. And so pick it out now, get the yarn if you need to get it, make yourself a little kit. And then when you're having one of those dark winter days, you can be like, I have this project that is waiting for me and I'm excited about it and I want to do it. And that can be a thing that helps you feel the way you want to feel in the future too. So think about future you and what she needs, what he needs, and set yourself up now so that you can have those things when you need them in the future. And if you know what that is, I'd love to hear about it because maybe you'll give me some ideas to add to my infinite list of things to make. And in the meantime, I hope that you have a great weekend. If it's weekend, great crafty week, whatever time until I see you again. And yeah, I'll see you again soon.